So the dust is now settled on Fury versus Usyk, and I went and I watched. So my original watch along that I did last night, when you're doing a live watch along, you've got a lot of comments coming at you left, right, and centre. Some are saying this, some are saying that, and you kind of second guess yourself. So this morning, I went and I watched this fight in its entirety. Again, cold light of day. 8-4 is perfect for Oleksandr Usyk. I gave Tyson Fury round 1, round 5, round 9 and 10. That's it. There's no issue with the 116-112 scorecard. We'll talk about that in a separate video. All right, we can do a little, once I get some footage sent to me by DAZN, we can do a little kind of breakdown we can do a film study on how we scored this fight and everything to go with that. That's going to come probably over Christmas. Once I get some footage sent to me, that'll be all good. Let's talk about Oleksandr Usyk. Let's talk about an all-time great, one of, if not the greatest of this generation, certainly of heavyweights. But I would go further than that and say of all these fighters, because Oleksandr Usyk is the gold standard of what a true fighter, in the truest sense, a true honest fighter, should be. This is a guy who has never shied away from a challenge. I was looking at his resume. Someone actually posted it. I think it might be, let's call it Michael Benson. I think that was the one. It was Michael Benson. It's Ring Magazine now. But they posted his resume of his last, I think 14 fights, thereabouts. Certainly a lot of his last fights. And it's phenomenal. Oleksandr Usyk, I think, was 9-0 when he fought Krzysztof Glowacki back in Poland way back 2016, 8 years ago. And I'm just going to reel this off, right? Krzysztof Glowacki in Poland. Bisa Machunu in America. Michael Hunter in America. Marco Huck in Germany. Myris Bradis in Latvia. Marek Asiev in Russia. Tony Bellew in the UK. Shez Witherspoon being kind of the exception, in all fairness. No disrespect, but kind of is. In America. Derek Chisora in the UK. Anthony Joshua in the UK. Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia. Daniel Dubois in Poland. Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia. Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia. Have you ever heard of a run of back-to-back fights? And some are going to say, Tabisa Machunu, just for the record, Tabisa Machunu was robbed against Ilunga Makabu in their second fight. Tabisa Machunu has wins over the likes of Denis Lebedev. Tabisa Machunu was a top cruiserweight contender. So that's not them plucking an obscure opponent out for a first title defense. It's actually a title defense, a first title defense against a very formidable opponent in Tabisa Machunu. Because he went on to do good things after that fight. And Oleksandr Usyk absolutely made mincemeat of Tabisa Machunu in that fight. This is a guy who goes to other fighters' backyard, sometimes when he doesn't even have to, when he may be the champion, right? And nevertheless, he still goes there. He still fights them. He doesn't look for any unnecessary advantages. He doesn't look to kind of cheat his way. Vladimir Klitschko, when he went abroad, when he went to Russia to fight Povetkin, all right, he had to foul and foul and foul and foul and foul all the way through that fight. He should have been disqualified in that fight, and the referee let him away with it. When Kubrat Pulev fought Vladimir Klitschko, you had to use the gloves that Klitschko approved. When he went to America to fight Brian Jennings, and the referee, Michael Griffin, was refereeing that night, warned him about holding early on, and basically said, I'm not going to allow you to hold. My guy was shook to bits. No disrespect, Brian Jennings is a stand-up guy, but he was never a top heavyweight. Vladimir Klitschko couldn't, and Brian Jennings has been stopped by lesser fighters than Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko was terrified. Didn't know what to do in there. Alright, and that's someone who is so talented. He's everything going for him. And he has to resort to, tactics and being scared to death to throw punches because I'm not allowed to clinch. Oleksandr Usyk is cut from a different sheet altogether. This is a guy, he goes to their backyard, he beats them comprehensively, he doesn't worry about any shenanigans, he doesn't worry about any referees, he doesn't worry about gloves, he doesn't worry about the scorecards. He knows his boxing, his talent is enough. He's happy to go on the road. He's happy to take hard fight after hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. This is what we want the next generation of fighters to do. This is the guy. This is the gold standard of fighter. Canelo is a brilliant fighter. A brilliant fighter. He is a tremendous talent, one of the best of this generation. But let's be frank, it's always been the Canelo show. It's the Canelo show. It's always going to be the Canelo show. You know, Terence Crawford, he does, you know, for every good fight he has, there's a couple of, you know, his run at welterweight up until he fought Spence was not crazy good. You know, Sean Porter was the best name. He retired after he fought Terence Crawford. Kell Brook had seen better days. He's only really Errol Spence. No offense to Terence Crawford, a fighter who I think the world of. Oleksandr Usyk, big fight after big fight after big fight. We here on YouTube, I see many people online giving Oleksandr Usyk, I mean, he deserved them long before he even fought Tyson Fury. But we give Oleksandr Usyk the praise and the credit he absolutely deserves. Frank Warren doesn't do that. No, didn't do that in the immediate aftermath of the fight. The way that the media, the boxing media, certainly really in the UK behaved going into this fight was nothing short of disgraceful. We have a fighter here in Oleksandr Usyk who is one of the best of all time. Arguably in the top 5 heavyweights of all time. Arguably. Maybe not on resume, but just what he's done in a short period of time. The talent that he has. And we have people like Simon Jordan and Garrett A. Davis who literally act like the first fight didn't happen. Who say things like, well, Lennox Lewis would have easily beat Oleksandr Usyk. So, you know, if Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury both lose to him, well, how good are these guys, you know? That's the disrespect in saying that. You're talking about a guy who I've just peeled off his resume there. Speaks for all the world to see. Undisputed at cruiserweight. And you've Simon Jordan, who is, you know, a media guy. You know, he's on, what, 6 figures a year. He's supposed to be intelligent. And he can't even give the guy his flowers. He can't even say, whoa, hang on a minute. It's not the fact that Fury and Joshua both lost to a guy they shouldn't have been losing to. Maybe they lost to an exceptional, once-in-a-generation talent. Maybe that's what you should do. But he isn't going to do it. The build up to this fight, you know, you always hear when it's a rematch, is it repeat or revenge? Now this time around it was, is it revenge or repeat? When they were at the press conference for Usyk Fury, the press conference that happened this week, Oleksandr Usyk had all the B-side fighters on his side of the table. And Tyson Fury had all the A-side fighters on his side of the table. It was so overt who they wanted to win. The fact of the matter is, Oleksandr Usyk, as he's always done throughout the course of his career, rose to the occasion. Watching this fight back, as I said, 8-4 Usyk, no issues. I mean, first round, and again, I wouldn't have much of a complaint if you had it 9-3. Because the first round, nothing really happened. I did just edge Fury's work in the first round. He doesn't win a round then until the 5th round. And then he doesn't win another round until the 9th and the 10th. They're the only rounds you can give him. And again, if you gave Usyk the first round and you maybe didn't give Fury anything other than the 5th, the 9th and the 10th, I'm not going to complain because genuinely when you look at it back, you're like, hang on a sec, Usyk is landing way more shots. The punch stats show that, but man, it's not even close in here. A win for Oleksandr Usyk, definitely. Upon watching it, you're seeing some of the stuff Fury is doing, you're thinking, okay. No, Oleksandr Usyk knew his game, his A game was just better. And for me, I'd actually quite like to see, I know I'll talk about Dubois now in a separate video, but for me, what's the point in rematching a guy who you soundly beat? We forget that Daniel Dubois, a shot that was ruled low. Usyk was given time and he's saying he got robbed. Mate, it was not a close fight. The one round you had success in was a round in which your best shot got deemed a low blow. That's the only round you won in the 9 rounds. Other than that, you were soundly beaten. Soundly. You never even came close to winning another round. And you're acting like you got robbed? Really? Really? And then everyone's, oh, now he's got to fight Daniel Dubois again. Well, no, he's not obliged to do anything. And if I was Oleksandr Usyk, if I was advising him, I'd say, what? You don't need to do anything. You proved it all before the Fury fight, before even the first fight. I would say, here are your flowers. Go. It's done. You don't need this. You've pretty much beaten boxing. You've beaten the likes of Anthony Joshua. You've beaten the likes of Tyson Fury. And crucially, you beat the boxing establishment. I mean, you left the boxing establishment in the dust. You took out the trash. That's what you did. He's nothing left to prove. I'd love to see Oleksandr Usyk sail off into the sunset. He spoke about spending time with his daughter, sitting in his house with the arms up, and I think if ever a man has deserved that, it's Oleksandr Usyk. Let's hope that the Simon Jordans, the Gareth A. Davises of the world will finally give Oleksandr Usyk his flowers, because it's long overdue. Not that I'm sure he cares about those guys, but the disrespect for a fighter of this caliber. It's not just the skill he has in the ring. It's the fact that this is a guy who is willing to go to anyone's backyard, big fight after big fight, unification, mandatory, big fight after big fight, no questions asked, no issues. He goes straight in, no moving the goalpost, no let's talk about splits, let's do this, let's do a tune-up, let's do this. All the stuff that Tyson Fury does and has done, none of that. Tyson Fury talks about being a fighting man. Listen, Oleksandr Usyk is the definition of a fighting man. You're a numbers man. There's a difference. Sometimes it's better to be a numbers man, but not on this occasion. The fighting man came true. And that was Oleksandr Usyk, the true fighting man. And that's all I got to say on that. The boxing media in the UK, appalling. The DAZN commentary was quite biased. It wasn't the worst. I can imagine TNT's was way worse. But yeah, could have been a bit better. But by the end, Barry Jones was adamant it was Usyk's fight. And he made a few mistakes, but ultimately it wasn't the worst. It was a little bit biased, but it could have been a lot worse. I can imagine TNT. Good Lord. I can only imagine what that was like. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Oleksandr Usyk. Let's give the man his flowers. Let's give the man his flowers. Peace.